Hi, I welcome you to the Western Mass Business Show. I'm Ira Brick, and every week I talk to people that have businesses around Western Massachusetts, um, how they are doing in general, but especially during this time of coronavirus, just how they are pivoting and innovating and all of that. And today I'm very glad to have Tracy Roth, that has a business in Florence, Mass, one of my favorite parts of this region, called the Hub Studio. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, Ira. It's great to be here.
Great. So let's start. This is still a relatively new business, and I am interested in why you see this as a hub, but also if you can include in your answer, you just gave me a little bit of info to know you better, and you mentioned that
Mhm.
you almost named it or could have named it Metaphor Sports. So why hub and why almost Metaphor Sports?
Yeah, those are great questions. Well, I'll start with why hub. So
Okay.
to me, I wanted to create a place where people felt like it was a one-stop shop for health and wellness, right? So community is important for your health. Obviously, we do workouts, so physical fitness, uh, nutrition coaching services. And, as we grow, we'll incorporate many other spokes that lead into the hub. But the hub is community, it's a center for you to find your inner strength, whole health, your hub, your core. So that's how I came up with.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Also, I'm a cyclist, so I kind of had that
Uh-huh.
wheel in my brain on
I
my.
was thinking of hubs and spokes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So I almost called it metaphor sports because I've been an athlete my whole life, and what I always realized about movement and health in general, but especially movement, is that every type of sport or type of movement that you do can be such a metaphor for life. And how you are in sports and in movement is how you live your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, sportsmanship and camaraderie, right? If you have those aspects of who you are in your sport, then you're most likely that type of person out in the world, right?
Right.
When you're going through a hard workout, or say you're on a bike ride and you're going up a hill and it's really difficult and it's really pushing you, to
Yeah.
your limit, and you're going through difficulty. You have to find that power and that strength within to really push yourself forward, get up that hill, get through the workout, whatever it is. So you're tapping into your intrinsic motivation and who you are in times of stress and struggle.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like a metaphor, right? Are you going to kind of give up and take a water break or
Right.
take up the hill, which of course those things are fine. We're all in different places all the time. But
S-
are you going to dig in
Right.
and make it happen, right? So it's kind of like a metaphor for who you are and who you
Right.
live.
So are you suggesting that if somebody does better in some physical activity that is metaphorical of how they are in life, that they actually will improve in that area in life?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Uh-huh.
If you're really good at getting up that hill on your bike or lifting that heavier weight over your head, then you're
Right.
probably, successful in your life, because of those qualities that push you, I think.
And that can be your inspiration, is just like imagine pushing yourself up a hill or something like that. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just a couple of other things about your company. I mean, first of all, clearly it's a woman-owned business. So
Clearly.
we'll talk about that a little bit. And then also, I mean, I am just in love with Florence and so many things about it. And this
Mhm.
is yet one more beautiful business in the Nonotuck Mill, which I think had been a brush company in the mid-19th century. So just talk about what that is all about, your location choice and your town choice.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in this area. I didn't grow up in Florence. I grew up in West Hampton.
Uh-huh.
But my mom worked at Smith College, and so I was always in Northampton and Florence and hanging out, and I love the area. Um, I opened my business in Florence because there's really no, I mean, other than the why, um, there's really no business like it. And Florence has great rent compared to downtown Northampton.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an up and coming, fun, but personable family type place. And it's also kind of a hub, if you will, for the hill towns. People come
Right.
down from the hill towns. So everyone loves Florence, and there's just so many eclectic and unique, really cool
Yeah.
businesses in Florence. And I love the Nonotuck Mill. I love the fact that it's, right next to the river. It's a little bit off the beaten path, but there's a lot of fun business
Right.
over there.
Florence strikes me as it's the perfect blend of old-timey charm and like modern hip stuff. It's great.
Yeah, lots of old timey charm. Yeah,
Yeah.
with the Civic Center there and the history with Sojourner Truth. And yeah, there's just so much to Florence. And the bike path goes right through there. So it's just a fun place to be. Yeah, so a few things differentiate us, I think. One is being women owned and women operated, and the type of fitness classes that we offer. All of those things together really do appeal to women mostly. But we do have several men who come to our workouts. But just the fact that we're women owned, women operated, that's a unique thing that people tend to gravitate to and want to support and uplift within the community.
Uh-huh.
Um, so that's one way that we're unique. Another way we're unique is that, and this is one thing that always bothered me about going to group fitness classes, was I never felt like everyone got introduced to each other in a class. So you're taking class and these people you don't know, and you may be taking class with them for months or years and you've never been formally introduced. Now, of course, you can introduce yourself to somebody, but I like to start every single class, and I have all my instructors do this too, where we make sure that we introduce everybody to everybody. Something that makes people feel special, because of course we have to remember their names. So we're going around the room introducing everyone. It's nice to hear your name, and it's also a great way to be connected. And people come to group fitness because they want to have that community, that connection while they're working out. They're not doing it alone, right? They're motivated by the community around them. So that's one way that I think that we enhance that experience.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Because you are doing something alone in the gym. It's easy, in my experience, it's easy to just have all kinds of assumptions and judgments about everyone else in the place, that they don't
right,
do this or
right.
they
That's
do that.
exactly it. And so
Yeah.
if you meet them, and we also like to make sure that maybe not right before the class is about to start because it would take so long, but we like to make sure that we help people get to know each other in the community. Like we
Uh-huh.
will tell one person, "Oh, did you know that this person has this similar interest to you?" And and
Right.
created friendships.
And as you are in the hub business, I mean, it's super important to build that community. You wouldn't want to be called the hub and then not be a hub. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that has been attributed to longevity and long life is having a sense of community and having, belonging, and having people help you and be there for you. So,
Yeah. So there's two halves to the show, and we have time for a couple of questions in the first half. But the one is, can you just tell a little bit about how you got started? We are also going to talk about how you're now having to adapt, as everybody does in COVID. But what was your plan in starting this in-person live place, and how did you do it?
well, the motivation came from the fact that it was something I'd always wanted to do. I was an athlete my whole life, as I said before, and but I had a great career, and life is good. I'm a positive person, but I came upon a time in my life when everything shattered. My marriage, my career, and my motivation there, and opportunities there. I had physical injuries. So all of these different aspects of my life became really difficult. And what I got from it coming out on the other side was that I absolutely have to wake up every day going to work at something that I truly love and that I'm very passionate about. Otherwise, what's the point?
Uh-huh.
Knew that, I was finally listening to my calling is kind of how I felt.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to open up a fitness studio. I'm going to do nutrition coaching. I'd kind of been doing some of these things on the side, working in other places, and I just knew, it wasn't a hobby anymore.
Mm-hmm.
A gig is
Yeah.
how I needed to live my life.
And how old is the business, or how old was it when the pandemic hit?
We were 2.5 years old, almost exactly, when I closed the studio, and I closed about a week before the
Uh-huh.
governor's orders. Yeah, so
So you saw growth and
young.
progress there. It had taken off.
Yes, in fact, we were having like some of the best months of our lives. I mean, in general, gyms and fitness places are busier in the winter,
Uh-huh.
but we just kept getting bigger and bigger and more people finding out about us. And then it was like, boom, we had to close the doors. It was so
Uh-huh.
sad. Our members, our instructors, everyone was so bummed.
Yeah. So we have time for one last question. So like just the short version, and we'll expand more. You are now offering all of this online.
Yes, it's limited as to, we had like 15 classes a week before, but now we just have a few and I'm looking to add more and we're going to be able to get outside soon. So we're going to be doing some things outside with social distance practices. But yeah, so we've been doing virtual classes online, live, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. So we're going to hear more. There's a whole other half. Please stay tuned through 3 or 4 commercials of our sponsors, our supporters, and we'll be back on the Western Mass Business Show. I'm Ira Brick, and my guest is Tracy Roth of the Hub Studio. Hi, we're back. This is Ira Brick on the Western Mass Business Show. I'm here with Tracy Roth of the Hub Studio, I once I gave a talk to the International Health and Racket Club Association, and I got excellent reviews, except 3 different people wrote, "Stop calling it a gym." Because when I was growing up, I'd go with my father to the gym. He would do real
Right.
exercise, and I would do that little vibrating belt and sit on the little spokes that went around, make myself a nuisance. But like, so, what do you consider your place aside from a hub in the universe of gyms and health clubs and rackets and spas and all of that?
Right, right. So I have a studio, a fitness studio is what I call
Uh-huh.
it, because it's a smaller space. So you can kind of think of studio as opposed to a large gym with lots of different equipment that you can go to anytime if you're a member and get in whatever workout you can do for yourself or take a class. So it's not that. It's just group fitness. I do personal training, so I do have one-on-one sessions with people, but scheduled. So it's more of a fitness studio where we have classes,
Uh-huh. Okay.
not just a gym.
And then just to say, I know that a few of the things that you offer is, let me just say, this thing called reflexive, but it's spelled very exotically, yoga, using TRX, which I just had to look up, which is exercise that uses your own body weight as
Hmm.
part of that. And you have a outdoor boot camp, and you have spin and indoor cycling. Just talk about a few of the particulars.
Yeah, so I think one of our biggest services and that we're known for and that is most popular are our indoor cycling, also called spinning classes. So we have the bike set up and, people come and it's almost like a HIIT workout and cardio, and it's just a really great exercise. So that's the biggest service. And then the TRX is kind of like metabolic conditioning and cardio and strength training all in one because you're holding on to these 2 straps that are set up onto a single anchor point, and so it throws you off balance. You have to engage your core and in order to use the equipment and use your body weight, leverage your body weight against gravity. And then the reflexive yoga is a whole new type of movement that was just invented by this great woman, Crystal Say of Sweat Power Yoga in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. And it is just a phenomenal way of doing.
That's probably why it sounded exotic. It comes from all the way from East Longmeadow.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not local. It's very local. But reflexive refers to the use of an external stimulus to enhance your neuromuscular system and your movement. And so that's why it sounds kind of exotic and fancy, because a lot of people might not know that term. But reflexive yoga uses the TRX, that's the external stimulus, and you're engaging with the TRX while you're doing power, vinyasa, yoga, flow, to just have a greater activation of all your muscle fibers, and your brain is working even harder to do the yoga because of this, tool that you're engaging with and interacting with. So it's pretty special. It's hard to explain, but
Hmm.
you've got
But they are the
to try
traditional
it out.
yoga postures. They're still downward facing dog and all that, or is that hard to do when you're using your body weight against you?
Yeah, we don't have any downward facing dog, but what it is it's a specific type of yoga called power vinyasa flow. Um, and it's like the hot yoga that people do, and it's
Uh-huh.
Baptiste flow, um, translated into movements using the TRX.
Okay. So next question is, you said that you suffered some personal injuries, which was part of your motivation, but part of what you do in your business is to help people to not use what you're saying dysfunctional movement patterns. So
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact that a lot of people hurt themselves doing exercise the wrong way. Even trainers
Mm-hmm.
can misadvise you. So
Right.
discuss.
Right. So, we all have some form of dysfunctional movement because we're sitting a lot, right? Like in our jobs all day long. And so, and then just as we age, particularly if we're athletes and we've had repetitive movements and motions, we all have some kind of compensation in our body, even if you haven't had an injury, like an acute injury. So, then you go in and you work out, and even under greatest conditions, when you know what you're doing or you have a trainer, you can just move the wrong way and hurt yourself, either acutely or chronically through poor movement. So, what we like to do, there's a big buzzword around about functional fitness, and it comes in many forms, I guess. Our take on it is that we make sure that we are incorporating different types of mobility movements and like rehabilitating type movement into our class programming with the TRX and the reflexive yoga. It's a little harder to do with, spinning on a bike, but we incorporate that into our programming so that we're already building in that resilience that can help undo dysfunctional patterns, assist with injuries you may already have, and just make you stronger and more
Okay.
in your life.
Great. Thank you. So I want to cover a few of your, areas of speciality. And, another one, I like food. I'm interested
Mm.
in enjoying food, and also I probably eat way too much, evidenced by look at me. And you deal with some of the, the diet myths about food, and just can you just describe your approach to nutrition?
Yeah, our approach to nutrition is all of the diets are great diets. And by diet, I mean what you eat, not
Hmm.
being on a diet, eating less,
Right.
right? So there's a lot out there. Everyone is so individual and so unique genetically, physically, what your goals are, what your activity level is, your age, etc. And so this is why you see so many different types of nutrition advice out there. That this is the way you have to eat. You have to eat keto, you have to eat paleo, you have to be vegan, right? Everyone's got the thing that worked for them, and then they want to go and share that with others. So but then it can cause, a lot of myths. There's also the problem of non-regulation when it comes to supplements and, dietary recommendations in general.
Hmm.
So, and there's also a big problem, especially for women, about body image and what you're supposed to eat. We're supposed to be skinny, etc. Right? So oftentimes people say this food is good, this food is bad, right? They look at things as good or bad. If they're eating something like pizza, it's called a cheat meal, right? So there's all this negativity associated with some foods they enjoy. And so it just becomes that all of these things that I just mentioned kind of all dovetail into shame and, um, difficulty with like, what should I eat to just be healthy, right? And then if you eat something like pizza, you call it bad, and then you're bad, and there's this whole psychological thing associated with it. So our approach is to help you find food that you love, eating it in a way that works for you, regardless of your goals. Maybe it's performance, maybe you do want to lose some weight, maybe you just want to feel okay about your food choices. And so we honor that.
Mm-hmm.
No such thing as good or bad food, there's just food along a spectrum.
Uh-huh.
And what works for you is what works for you.
Okay, very good. So let me just ask you, a lot of people started a business, you've been going for 2.5 years, and then COVID hits and you really need to figure it all out. But you mentioned to me that you were actually more optimistic than ever, and I'd love to know what that's
Mm-hmm.
about.
Yeah, so fortunately, I was one of the recipients of some grant money from some emergency small business funding from the city of Northampton.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, to
Florence is part of Northampton, just for
Florence
the
is part of Northampton.
uneducated.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
thankfully. So I received a grant to purchase some good, higher quality video camera type equipment and to get training and how to use that so that I can create this whole new, line of revenue really and new services because let's face it, the future is going to include a lot more time online, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
when this is done and we can go back out into the world, it's going to be a new normal and people have different comfort levels. And so I realize that, fitness, there's always been online fitness. So why not get in on that, create some on-demand workouts for my members and people to buy, have more live workouts that are just functionally better, right? To follow along. It's not dark or in the house or something, right? So to just be able to um, on-demand live workouts, some educational content for individuals, organizations, schools, and to, be able to have that whole new line of revenue.
Would you try to still focus on this region, or because you're online, would you try to scale it to the entire universe?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're selling online, the whole universe can attend, right? So, but I
Yeah,
Zoom, I can only have 100 people. So,
right. So after 7.5 billion people get to know each other, you might be,
right, I know I'll have a little trouble remembering those names, I'm sure.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but
Okay.
it's true. I'll be able to reach a wider audience, which is great, and still have the brick and mortar, in-person, personal hub.
So in the little bit of time we have left, this is not a free commercial, but how do people get in touch with you and get a taste of what you offer?
Oh, yeah. So you can email me, Tracy at yourhubstudio.com.
Tracy without an E, Tracy.
Tracy. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
um, you can visit our website, yourhubstudio.com, and you can visit our Facebook page, Instagram. Our handle there is at yourhubstudio.
Uh-huh.
To see what we're up to, connect with us that way. I'm always happy to chat. I do free consultations, and we can do those virtually now. And
That's great.
yeah, that's how
Well,
we
I,
get hold of
I,
us.
I just want to commend you on your bravery and also just heading optimistically into the future. Optimism is an underappreciated personality trait. So,
Yeah, thank you. It has to be cultivated though.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. That's right. There's so much evidence to keep you from succeeding at it.
I know. It's
Well,
a hard
thank you.
time.
Thank you, Tracy. This is
Thank you,
Ira
Ira.
Brick. My pleasure. This is Ira Brick on the Western Mass Business Show. If you want to hear many more episodes, go to WHMP.com under podcasts and the Western Mass Business Show. And if you have a business and you're interested in telling your story, just email me at ira@irabrick.com. Thank you so much and take care.